My mother-in-law put me in a humiliating situation, so I made her taste her own poison. Emily is in the living room, setting the table for family dinner. The smell of home cooking fills the air, but her nervousness makes her question whether everything is perfect. Margaret enters the room, her gaze sweeping the room with a coldness that makes Emily swallow hard. Margaret, with a tone of disdain, "Emily, do you really think that's enough to impress anyone? The silverware is out of place, and the food, well, I hope it's better than last time." Emily feels a tightness in her chest, a mixture of shame and sadness. She forces a smile, trying to hide the pain that Margaret's words cause. Emily, trying to stay calm, "I did the best I could, Margaret. I hope everyone likes it." Margaret rolls her eyes and walks away, leaving Emily alone with her thoughts. Emily looks at the table, her vision blurred by the tears that insist on falling. She wonders if she will ever be enough for Margaret, if she will ever be seen beyond her flaws. As the night progresses, Emily prepares to face yet another family gathering, carrying the weight of Margaret's contempt on her shoulders. But inside her, a flame of determination begins to ignite, a silent promise that one day, somehow, she will find her place and prove her worth. The night progresses and Emily and Tom's house is filled with voices and laughter. The family is gathered, and the dining room buzzes with lively conversation. Emily, still feeling the weight of Margaret's words, struggles to maintain her composure as she serves dinner. Margaret, sitting at the head of the table, watches Emily with critical eyes. The conversation flows, but Emily feels like an intruder in her own home. She focuses on pleasing, but the tension is palpable. Margaret, raising her voice to get attention, "So, Emily, I heard you tried making that special dish I mentioned. I hope it wasn't too complicated for you." Emily feels everyone's eyes on her, and a wave of heat rises to her face. She takes a deep breath, trying to keep her voice steady. Emily, with a nervous smile, "Yes, Margaret, I did the best I could. I hope it's to your liking." Margaret tastes some of the food, and a silence settles at the table. Emily watches, her heart pounding, as Margaret sets the fork aside. Margaret, with a tone of disapproval, "Well, it's acceptable, but it's still not what I expected. Maybe next time you can try a little harder." The pain of Margaret's words cuts Emily like a knife. She feels tears threatening to fall, but she refuses to let others see her vulnerability. Beside her, Tom looks at her sympathetically but remains silent, caught between love for his wife and loyalty to his mother. Tom, trying to ease the tension, "I think it's great, Emily. You did an amazing job." But Tom's words, although kind, cannot erase the humiliation Emily feels. She forces a smile, but inside, a storm of emotion stirs. Margaret's contempt is a constant she can't escape, and each encounter feels like a test she never passes. As the night continues, Emily retreats to the kitchen under the pretense of getting more wine. There, away from the eyes, she allows a few tears to escape. But along with the sadness comes a quiet determination. She won't let Margaret break her. Somehow, she will find a way to turn the tables, to show everyone that she is more than what Margaret sees. The night finally comes to an end, and the guests begin to say goodbye. Emily, emotionally exhausted, helps clear the table while Margaret talks to one of her aunts in the hallway. The dismissive words still echo in Emily's mind, but she tries to focus on the task at hand. While putting away the dishes, Emily hears a fragment of conversation that makes her stop. "Tia Martha, Margaret, are you sure no one knows about, that financial problem? It would be a disaster if it came to light." Emily stands at attention, her heart pounding. The idea that Margaret, always so controlled and critical, could have such a serious secret makes Emily feel a mixture of relief and empowerment. For the first time, she has something that could balance the scales between them. Later, lying next to Tom, Emily can't sleep. She turns to him, feeling the need to share what she discovered. "Emily, Tom, I heard something today, something about your mother. I think she's hiding a financial problem." Tom turns to her, surprised and worried. "Tom, are you sure? My mother never mentioned anything." Emily, I don't know the details, but I heard Aunt Martha talking about it. Maybe that's why she's been so tense lately. Tom remains silent, processing the information. Emily watches his face, trying to read his thoughts. Tom, Emily, I know my mother can be difficult, but we need to be careful about this. If it's true, we need to think about how to handle this without causing more problems. Emily agrees, but inside her, a new flame ignites. She realizes she has a chance to change the dynamic between her and Margaret. But how to use this information, and at what cost? Tensions grow, leaving Emily on the brink of a decision that could change everything. In the days that follow, the tension between Emily and Margaret grows almost tangibly. Emily, with new knowledge of Margaret's financial secret, feels the weight of the information like a weapon she's not sure how or when to use. The family dynamics continue, but each interaction carries a subtext of distrust and anxiety. On a sunny afternoon, Emily is in the garden, trying to find peace while tending to the flowers. Margaret appears, her gaze sharp as ever, but there's something different in her posture, a shadow of concern that Emily can't ignore. Margaret, Emily, can I talk to you for a moment? Emily feels her heart racing, but maintains her composure. Emily, of course, Margaret. What happened? Margaret hesitates for a moment, a rare gesture for someone so sure of herself. Margaret, I know things have been tense between us, but there's something I need to discuss. Something important. Emily watches Margaret, trying to decipher her intentions. The air seems to vibrate with anticipation. Emily, I'm listening. Margaret takes a deep breath, as if preparing for a dive into deep water. Margaret, the truth is, I'm facing some financial difficulties. It's not something I want to share, but I feel like you deserve to know since you're part of the family. Emily feels a wave of conflicting emotions. Part of her wants to offer support, but another part can't help but feel a bitter satisfaction at seeing Margaret vulnerable. Emily, thank you for trusting me, Margaret. I know this must be difficult for you. Margaret nods, her eyes showing a sincerity Emily has rarely seen. Margaret, I hope we can find a way to deal with this together without the whole family having to know. Emily hears the plea implicit in Margaret's words. She's asking for help, or at least discretion. Emily feels the responsibility of the moment, knowing she has the power to change everything with just one word. Emily, we will find a solution, Margaret. Together. The words come out more easily than she expected, but inside her, the battle continues. She doesn't yet know how this new alliance will play out, but she is determined to maintain control over the situation, aware that the balance of power between them is shifting. And as the sun sets over the garden, Emily prepares herself for what's to come, knowing that the true test is yet to come. In the days that follow, the atmosphere in the house changes subtly. Emily and Margaret, now united by a shared secret, begin to interact in an almost cordial manner, but the underlying tension remains. Emily feels a new confidence, but also the pressure of keeping her promise to help Margaret. One afternoon, while Emily is in the kitchen preparing dinner, Margaret enters, looking calmer than in previous days. Emily watches her mother-in-law, trying to understand if this calmness is genuine or just a facade. Margaret, Emily, I've been thinking about what we talked about. Maybe we can find a way to resolve this without causing such a fuss. Emily pauses, setting the knife aside and turning to Margaret. She senses the urgency in her mother-in-law's voice, but she also senses an opening for something more. Emily, I've been thinking too. Maybe we can start looking at expenses and see where we can cut costs. And if you need, I can help you find a financial advisor. Margaret seems to consider the idea, her gaze softening a little. Margaret, I think that would be a good start. I really appreciate your willingness to help, Emily. Emily feels a pang of surprise and satisfaction. It's rare to hear a sincere thank you from Margaret, and it makes her feel like she's finally earning some respect. Emily, we're in this together, right? Let's find a solution. Margaret nods, and for a moment there's a genuine connection between them. Emily realizes that despite the difficulties, there is a chance to build something new out of adversity. But, in the midst of this moment of understanding, Emily cannot ignore the small voice in her head that warns her about the fragility of this truce. She knows that any misstep could undo all the progress they've made. As Margaret leaves the kitchen, Emily resumes her task, but now with a renewed sense of purpose. She is determined to use this opportunity to not only help Margaret, but also to assert her place in the family. Yet a part of her remains vigilant, aware that the true test of her strength and resilience is yet to come. The days pass, and Emily and Margaret begin to work together to face the financial problem. Emily finds herself immersed in spreadsheets and numbers, while Margaret, although reluctant at first, begins to open her files and show the true extent of the situation. The tension between them gradually eases, replaced by wary respect. One night, after a long expense review session, Emily and Margaret find themselves sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers. Exhaustion is evident on both their faces, but there is also a quiet determination. Margaret, I never thought I'd be here, discussing my finances with you. I guess I underestimated your ability to handle all of this. Emily looks at Margaret, feeling a mixture of pride and empathy. She knows how difficult it must have been for Margaret to admit her difficulties. Emily, I didn't think we'd be here either, but I'm glad I could help, and I think we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Margaret smiles, a rare gesture that lights up her face in an unexpected way. Emily realizes how significant this moment is, a small victory in the midst of so many battles. Margaret, you know, Emily, I've always been hard on you. Maybe because I saw something in you that I didn't have the courage to face myself. Your strength, your resilience, is admirable. Margaret's words touch Emily deeply. She feels a rush of emotion, a recognition she has wanted for so long. Emily, thank you, Margaret. This means a lot to me. I just want us to get through this together. The silence that follows is comfortable, an unspoken truce between two women who are finally beginning to understand each other. But Emily knows there are still challenges ahead, both financial and emotional. As they sort out the papers, Emily feels a new resolve. She realizes that although the situation is difficult, they have the ability to overcome it. And, most importantly, she sees that her relationship with Margaret is transforming into something more genuine and respectful. However, Emily remains cautious. She knows that the road to true reconciliation is long and full of uncertainty. But for the first time, she feels like they're on the right path, and that gives her hope for what's to come. As the weeks pass, the collaboration between Emily and Margaret begins to show results. Finances are slowly stabilizing, and the initial tension gives way to a sense of partnership. Emily feels that, for the first time, she truly connects with Margaret, but knows there are still unresolved issues between them. On a rainy afternoon, while reviewing the latest budget adjustments, Emily notices that Margaret is more thoughtful than usual. The rain patters softly on the window, creating a melancholy backdrop for the conversation to come. Margaret, Emily, there's something I need to tell you. Something I've been holding back for a long time. Emily feels a chill run down her spine, anticipating what Margaret might reveal. She sets the pen aside and turns to her mother-in-law, ready to listen. Emily, of course, Margaret. What is it? Margaret hesitates, as if weighing each word before speaking it. Margaret, I was always hard on you because I was scared of losing my son, scared that he was with someone who couldn't take care of him. But now I see that you are more than capable. You are strong and determined. Emily feels a rush of emotion, a mix of relief and understanding. Margaret's words are an acknowledgement she never thought she would hear. Emily, I understand, Margaret, and I never wanted to take anyone's place. I just wanted to be part of the family. Margaret looks at Emily, her eyes softening with a sincerity Emily has rarely seen. Margaret, and you are Emily. You're part of our family, and I'm grateful for that. Margaret's confession is a moment of vulnerability that Emily deeply values. She feels that, finally, the barriers between them are falling. Emily, thank you, Margaret. This means a lot to me, and I want you to know that I'm here for whatever you need. The silence that follows is filled with emotion, but also with new understanding. Emily feels that, despite all the difficulties, they are building something solid and lasting. As the rain continues to fall, Emily and Margaret sit together, sharing a rare moment of peace. Emily knows there are still challenges ahead, but now, with Margaret by her side, she feels like she can face anything. The feeling of uncertainty still hangs in the air, but it is accompanied by renewed hope for the future. If you like stories like this, subscribe to the channel. There will always be new videos, and you won't want to miss any of the excitement. With the new understanding between Emily and Margaret, the house begins to feel a lightness that has long been absent. However, Emily knows that their newfound peace is fragile, and the reality of their financial challenges still hangs over them. One afternoon, while Emily is in the garden, Margaret joins her. The sun is starting to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. Margaret looks hesitant, as if she is pondering something important. Margaret, Emily, I've been thinking about everything we've been through, and I realized that in addition to sorting out our finances, we need to resolve some past issues. Emily feels a pang of anxiety, but also of hope. She knows that this conversation is necessary so that they can both move forward. Emily, I agree, Margaret. I think it's time we put the past behind us. Margaret takes a deep breath, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Margaret, I'm sorry for how I treated you. I was scared, and it made me act unfairly towards you. But I want you to know that I truly admire your strength and resilience. Emily feels a rush of emotion when she hears those words. It's a genuine apology, something she never expected to receive. Emily, thank you, Margaret. I learned a lot from you too, and I'm glad we found a way together. Margaret smiles, a smile that carries both relief and gratitude. Margaret, you brought something special to our family, Emily, and I'm grateful that you stayed, even when things were hard. Emily feels a renewed connection with Margaret, a sense that they are finally on the same team. The tension and conflict that once dominated your interactions are now replaced by mutual understanding. Emily, we will continue to work together, Margaret. We still have a way to go, but I know we can get through anything. As the sun sets, Emily and Margaret stand side by side, looking to the future with a new perspective. Emily feels that despite the challenges, they have the strength and courage to face whatever comes. Uncertainty is still present, but it is now accompanied by a sense of hope and renewal. With the relationship between Emily and Margaret strengthened, the family begins to feel the positive impacts of this new dynamic. However, the shadow of financial difficulties still looms, requiring constant attention and difficult decisions. On a sunny morning, Emily and Margaret are in the living room, surrounded by documents and spreadsheets. The tension is palpable, but there is also a shared determination to find a definitive solution. Margaret, Emily, I've been thinking, maybe it's time to consider selling the cottage. I know it's a special place for the family, but it might be the answer we need. Emily looks at Margaret, surprised by the suggestion. She knows how much the cottage means to Margaret and the family, but she also understands the gravity of the situation. Emily, Margaret, this is a big decision. Are you sure you're ready for this? Margaret sighs, her eyes reflecting a mix of sadness and resolve. Margaret, it's not easy, but I believe it's the best thing to do. We need to secure our future, and this could give us the financial relief we need. Emily feels the weight of the decision, but also a renewed respect for Margaret. She sees the courage behind the choice, a willingness to sacrifice something important for the greater good. Emily, if that's what you think is best, I'm here to support you. We'll get through this together. Margaret smiles, grateful for Emily's unwavering support. Margaret, thank you, Emily. I couldn't do this without you. The trust between them is palpable, a testament to how much their relationship has evolved. Emily feels a surge of pride at being by Margaret's side at this pivotal moment, knowing that their partnership is stronger than ever. As they begin to organize the necessary documents for the sale, Emily realizes that despite the sadness associated with losing the house, there is also a sense of hope. It's a new beginning, an opportunity to start over and build something even better. Emily, let's do this, Margaret. And when this is all over, we'll have the chance to make new memories, wherever we decide to call home. Margaret nods, her eyes shining with determination. Margaret, yes, we will. And I know that with you by my side, we can face anything. With this renewed certainty, Emily and Margaret continue to work, united by a common purpose and a friendship that has overcome all adversity. The future is still uncertain, but they both know they are ready to face it together. With the decision to sell the country house made, Emily and Margaret face the final details of the process. The day of signing the papers arrives, bringing a mix of emotions for both of them. The country house, with its memories and stories, is about to change hands, but they know it is a necessary step to ensure the family's stability. On the morning of the signing, Emily and Margaret meet in the kitchen, sharing a silent coffee. The air is filled with nostalgia, but also with quiet determination. Margaret, today is the day, Emily. It seems surreal, doesn't it? Emily feels the same mix of feelings. She looks at Margaret, admiring the strength she displays. Emily, yes, it is, but I'm proud of us. We did what it took and we're stronger for it. Margaret smiles, a smile that carries both sadness and hope. Margaret, I couldn't have done this without you. Your presence made everything more bearable. Emily feels a surge of gratitude and love for Margaret. Their journey was full of challenges, but also of growth and understanding. Emily, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner on this journey. Thank you for trusting me. The morning progresses quickly, and soon they are on their way to the broker's office. The path is silent but comfortable, each lost in their own thoughts about the past and the future. In the office, as the papers are signed, Emily watches Margaret, noticing the mix of emotions in her eyes. It's a goodbye to an important chapter, but also a hello to new possibilities. Margaret, there it's done. A new beginning. Emily holds Margaret's hand, offering support and solidarity. Emily, yes, a new beginning, and we're going to make it the best it can be. With the signing complete, they leave the office, the sun shining on them like a sign of hope. Emily feels that, despite the difficulties, they managed to find a way together, stronger and more united than ever. Margaret, let's celebrate, Emily, not for what we lost, but for what we achieved together. Emily smiles, feeling the weight of the world lift off her shoulders. Emily, yes, let's celebrate, because what we have now is something no one can take away from us. With this renewed hope and determination, Emily and Margaret move forward, ready to face whatever comes, knowing that together they can overcome any challenge. The future is uncertain, but they are ready to embrace it, side by side. If you like stories like this, subscribe to the channel. There will always be new videos, and you won't want to miss any of the excitement.